All right, so I am going to record. We're good to go. Three, two, one. All right. What's going on, everybody? Nicholas Ayers here with Major League Video Marketing here inside the group, and we are here day number one of Social Media Marketing Week, and I am with I'm with the man, the myth, the legend himself. This is a guy that I actually give my money to when it comes to training, education, coaching. This is one of the only few people that I respect enough to say, here's my credit card number, teach me your ways. And this is Mr. Bobby Stoggs. Bobby is coming to us live from Puerto Rico, where he has recently moved. That's how you know he's a big baller shot caller, because he's not living in his parents' basement like most marketers out there renting Lambos. He is actually living the dream in Puerto Rico in that beach house community. Bobby, thank you so much for taking the time here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background for the noobs, for the rookies watching this at home.
All right. Hey, Bobby Stocks. That's my online alias. It's actually not my real name. Funny story there. I lost a shit ton of money trading penny stocks, and people started calling me that. So it was an expensive nickname. But I originally got into marketing in 2012. I had been like a business owner, entrepreneur type mindset since I was little. I remember outsourcing my lemonade stand as a little kid, and I would set it up, and I had the younger kids running the lemonade stand as I was at home. But I was in the restaurant business for a long time, did very well in the restaurant business, hated it, and got out in 2012. And actually I was an insurance agent for a little bit, kind of did a lot of different things trying to find my way. And when I was started with insurance, I was doing a final expense and mortgage protection. At the same time, I had built a fencing company, and I had guys that would go out and do the fencing. And I started teaching myself marketing at that point. And that's when I got into the marketing. I started learning about Facebook ads. I started teaching myself Facebook ads. And that ultimately really did well with the fencing company and Facebook ads. And then in 2016, transitioned from having a physical business into starting a marketing agency. And from there, we've grown into multiple different markets. We're a seven-figure agency. Last couple months, we're pushing almost $200,000 a month now on our digital agency. And that's why I now live in Puerto Rico, so that I can avoid the tax rate of the United States. And so Puerto Rico, 4% tax, all in.
That's
here. Yeah. So right now we do a lot of different things. We do digital marketing and lead generation for mortgage brokers. We have about 3 dozen mortgage brokers. We white label for a lot of marketing agencies, and we're running over 100 different accounts, and we're in close to 24 niches. I run Guru coaching funnels, so we're spending anywhere from $300,000 to almost $500,000 a month on Facebook ads just in that niche. We have a consulting group, obviously. We have a software. We got our hands in everything and everyone.
It's a little bit of all things to all men. I mean, you do the done for you services. You have the coaching course, which I'm a part of. You consult. You kind of have your hands in plenty of.
Yeah, we have a big we have a big team. Everybody on the team is like legit. So yeah, we've just we've kind of like modeled. I really respect Ryan Dyson, digital marketer, a lot because of the way that they've built a team. And that's, I think, a lot of our consulting is really focused on how do you build systems and how do you build a team, and one-man shows just don't really work well.
They don't scale very fast. Well, so thank you very much for being here. And the reason why I wanted to bring you on, I thought you would be a perfect fit is we'll have people who talk about the construction of Facebook ads. We can find people who talk about different things, when it comes to the platform of Facebook. But one thing that I think you guys do an extraordinary job of is your online positioning, your storytelling, how you guys create personas of yourself online. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe kind of go into some of your specialty there and how you make that work? And I'll let you just kind of take the floor from here.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think, I'll kind of backtrack a little bit. In 2015, before I made the jump into like, I'm going to make it as a marketer, which I went broke. Like I had a business, shut it down, went broke, and if we're all business owners, we know it's not always constant up. But I had worked for this company on the side as like a rep, a marketer rep, and they were from England. And the guy who owned the company actually used to be the chief of marketing for big brands. So he was chief of marketing for Breyers ice cream, some sort of cereal company, like I think an orange juice company, but over in Europe. So all massive big brands. And it was one of the most, I think, changing experiences I had was learning about when you get into big brands, they really focus on buyer psychology. That is like the majority of their focus is buyer psychology. And when you look at small business owners or agency owners, there is a complete lack of understanding around buyer psychology. And so there is a great teacher, marketing teacher named Eugene Schwartz. He's one of the founding, kind of guys to really educate everybody. Most of today's marketing is kind of based around his books, his rantings, and he got that stuff from other guys. But he talks about the buyer sophistication pyramid. And inside the buyer sophistication pyramid, he really breaks down how a market thinks and where they're at as far as the education they have around products, right? So what does this have to do with psychology? Well, when you go into your buyer psychology, everybody is basically purchasing and buying based off of this idea of status. And where status comes from is from, basically a genetic caveman thinking. There's some books out that refer to it as the lizard brain. And the lizard brain is the subconscious genetic, protection trigger that we all have, and what dictates basically all of our buying decisions, our buying wants, and it all comes down to safety and status. Status equals safety. The more status we have inside of our lives, inside of our business, the more safe we feel, which goes down to, or leads back to the idea of a tribe. Right? So inside of a tribe, we have the alpha and then everybody that comes down, right? So inside your buyer, there's always like its own ecosystem. And inside that ecosystem, certain things give people status, right? And that's why you see online for internet marketers, people be in front of their cars, will be in front of that stuff. And even though it turns some people off, deep down, it's a status symbol.
Right.
So how can we utilize that inside our marketing, right? Because you said it, like there's a million different tactics. 20 years ago, everybody was using direct mail, and I guarantee you within 5 years, everybody will be using direct mail again. I know plenty of people that are using direct mail now. So the tactics always change. The platforms always change. What does not change is the message.
Sure.
And the kind of the best way that any marketer, any business owner, whether you're a real estate agent, whether you have an insurance agency, doesn't matter what it is creating your core message. right? And whether that's B2B or B2C, you need to create your core message. So there's a couple different things that are very important when creating your core message. So for today, we'll just talk about organic, right? Because that's something that no matter what you're selling, you can do it. You should be doing it every day, and you should be very intentional about doing it. Most people are not intentional about what is their organic message. And especially with what you're teaching, which is so powerful, which is video. And the reason why video is so powerful is because it creates status. Now, why does video create status? Well, there's a multitude of different reasons why. One is that because popular people are seen on video, video creates status, right? If you're seen on video, you're subconsciously grouped with popular people.
Sure.
Famous movie stars, newscasters.
It gives you authority in your market space.
Right. So why? Well, one of the reasons is because if we look at public speaking, like they say, what is the biggest number one fear of people? And they say public speaking. Well, so putting yourself out there is seen as something that is scary. And because you're doing it, because it's scary, you are now, you're put on a level of status.
Right.
Another reason is because putting yourself out there is actually, it goes against the grain of status, right? So the alpha dog inside the tribe is the person who risked it all. How do you become alpha? You have to fight the other alpha. What happens if you lose? You're kicked out of the tribe.
Right.
So if you watch a pack of lions, when the other lion attacks the alpha, if he loses, he has to leave the tribe. And when you leave the tribe, you have chances of dying.
Right.
Right? So putting yourself out there is a subprimal alpha. So where do we, obviously today we're not gonna be thrown out of the tribe, we're not gonna die. So that is the ultimate hack.
Right.
The ultimate hack is you can put yourself out there every single day, and you can lose, and you can come back the next day, and you can put yourself up against the alpha again and again and again. And video is a great way to do it.
Right.
So how do you take that, right, and really craft a message that resonates and just is hard hitting and pounding every day? Well, it's understanding what your audience needs to hear. So there's a 4-work framework that anybody can use that helps you do this, right? And I'm sure you're teaching frameworks, and really the number one thing is result vision. So I do this with my personal feed. This simple strategy that I've used this year has easily made me at least $500,000, if not more, by just constantly doing and following this exact same strategy, which is 1, result and vision. So result and vision is, what is the result and the vision that your prospect wants in their life? Now, how can we encompass this so that no matter what you're selling, this works? So let's just say real estate and insurance. Our products are all the same, right? There's only so much we can do.
Right.
So result and vision is really understanding what is it that your prospect wants from your product, right? So real estate, that one's easy. Everybody wants to have their own home. Now, why do they want a home? Why do people buy a certain type of home? Well, there's 2 reasons why people buy. There's deep emotional needs, which that's where we wrap status in, tribal, and then there's logic, which logic, again, goes back to status. So let's say I want to buy a really big house.
It's a house I can't even afford to pay for, but you pay for it anyway. You leverage everything to be that and to have that status.
Right. So I see that house as being status. And, I can't wait to put pictures of it up. I can't wait to show everybody and, talk about it and go inside, and I want to have this and I want to have that. And I got my little area to put cigars in, I'm talking about myself right now. I have all that stuff, right? And I can utilize that. So how do I make that logical? Well, I make it logical because I'm like, well, I need to post status.
Right.
Right. So even in the process of me strategizing on how, I'm going to use that stuff for lifestyle, that's how I made the purchase logical. So your prospects are always buying because of emotion, and then they protect themselves by talking about logic. Right. So whether they buy a big screen TV and they really bought it because they're like, holy shit, this big screen TV takes up the entire room. This is awesome. Wait until people see how big this thing is.
I've never done that.
And then the logic is they're telling to the wife, telling the wife, wow, it was a great deal.
Oh, we're going to be able to teach our kids are going to be able to learn all kinds of lessons on this TV.
They're not going to hurt their eyes. They don't have to sit close to it anymore. They can sit back. It's going to last forever. It's DLP. That's all the logic. They really. So, number one thing, result vision. Right? What is the result and the vision that your prospects have? So, social media posts or your headlines inside your video is always going to be around the result and vision. So, a great example of that would be, how would you like to get the home of your dream without paying, through the nose? How would you like to get the home of your dreams while, getting cash back on closing or something like that? Like that's the result / vision, right? They get exactly what they want and exactly how they envisioned it, right? So there's so many different ways you can portray that. You can do it verbally. You can do it through copywriting. You can do it through images, through everything that you're doing, your lifestyle. All that stuff's result and vision. And that's what people buy. In real estate and insurance, because you're so restricted on your what your product can be, it's all about who you are. It's all about your results. It's all about you being high status by using video. It's why video works so great in those niches, because ultimately people want to buy from somebody that they emulate, that they like, that they want to be the result and the vision. So that's the number one. The second one's proof. So proof can be a multitude of different things, right? So proof can be proof that people like to hire you, proof that you're doing business. Nobody, because of the idea of status and tribe, nobody wants to buy from somebody who's not doing business, because what does that tell them? It tells them it's not safe.
When I would go out to places to eat, my dad used to tell me, if you go into a restaurant and there's nobody there,
right,
there's a reason why there's nobody there, and you shouldn't be there either. And that's why you go to a restaurant and there's a line out the door, and what do? You go stand in line with them like a lemming, because it's the exact same concept that you're talking about.
So when restaurants open, they actually rent cars. So like a big restaurant opening, they will rent cars to fill the parking lot. It's all about proof that people are doing business with you. Right. So if you say you're new to real estate, or you're a new insurance agent, new business owner, and you're saying to yourself, well, how do I get proof? So obviously there's proof that people are doing business. So, you close a deal, you close a property, you close another policy, and, you bring the people in, or you send them something and you get a picture, right? That's right. So there's tons of other ways you can do proof. Like us doing this right now, posting a screenshot of this on your profile feed and saying, just did an interview with so-and-so, right? So let's say you're an insurance agent and you're doing life, right? Or let's say you're property casualty and you're not doing life. You could interview another insurance agent about their line of specialty, post that on your feed, because all you need to do is prove that you're a mover and shaker and you're doing business.
Right.
So your prospect, at the end of the day, all they can buy is certainty in that you're actually operating a business.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. They need their ego, their safety, their tribalism, their lizard brain. It needs to be able to grab onto something because that logically justifies their the risk. It's a risk mitigator.
Is it along the lines that most people are followers and most followers want to be led? And so what they do is they latch on to somebody that they think is successful, someone that can lead them to the status or someone that can lead them to a position of, of where they want to be. They want to emulate that because they themselves, most people aren't leaders per se, but they're followers. And so they cling to a leader.
Right. So there's I'm trying to remember. There's a book, but there's a quote inside this book. I'm trying to remember what it is. But they said everybody's looking for something to plug into. Everybody. There isn't anybody who's not. Right. It's almost like the human condition is always looking to plug into something greater than itself.
Sure.
Spirituality. Everybody's got that hole, right? And so. Yeah, just by putting yourself out there, people want to plug into you. There's a great example of a guy in our area, where I'm originally from, Philadelphia, who's a car salesman, and this guy crushes it. And his catchphrase is "Who's next?" And all he does is post constant screenshots and videos of him at the dealership, and his hashtag is "Who's next?" Hashtag "Who's next?" And now what's happened over the last 2 years of him doing this guy's now selling 30, 40 cars a month. I mean, he's crushing it. And he's created a status atmosphere around who's next.
What is your advice to somebody who's maybe not just starting out, but maybe trying to get their wheels and their legs underneath them, who doesn't have that who's next type work, process? They don't have a line out the door of people wanting to work with them. They don't have a lot of proof to showcase. What would your recommendation be for someone like that, just to kind of get started or to kind of get to that next level?
Right. So you need to document, like, let's say for insurance, what is it when you start out? You're maybe doing what, like 5 or 10 transactions a month?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you need to really shine the magnifying glass on those 5 transactions. There's a great example of a marketing campaign that was for beer back in like the 40s or 50s. It might have been Anheuser-Busch or something like that. But a famous marketer goes in, and they're trying to figure out how to market this particular beer company. And the marketer's looking around, and he says, "What is that gigantic tank?" And they said, "Oh, that's the distillery. We're distilling that." And he said, "What's that?" And they said, "Well, it's a process, and we steam it up, and it purifies it." And they said, "We do that 3 times." And he said, "Triple distilled." And that was the campaign. So here's the thing. The thing is that everybody was doing it. Every beer company was doing triple distilled. It was standard, but the thing is that the client knows nothing about it.
We don't know it.
Right. So you can create a unique offer and mechanism around something that's not. So inside of insurance, there's probably tons of processes and, stop gaps and underwriting and things that nobody knows about and nobody talks about it. So all you need to do is start to educate and elaborate on certain things like you're doing something other people aren't.
Right.
And so when you take your 5 closed transactions, break it down, document every part of it. Take selfie shots of every part of it, explain every part of it. And what that does is, because you blow up the entire process, all of a sudden you look like the busiest insurance agent they've ever met. And a great example of this is a cousin of mine, his wife is a DJ. She started a side DJ business. She's a nurse during the week, and she does weddings and during the weekend. She was only getting she was using a DJ company that would outsource to her, and she was getting 1 a month. What they would do is on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, everything, they were documenting every part of it, but they were delaying the content push out, and they were doing multi-channel. And what happened is I'm watching and I'm like, holy shit, her business is blown up. And I messaged Brian. I'm like, dude, how many weddings is Jenny doing? Like, this is crazy. And he's like, nah, she's only doing one a month. She's like, we're just spreading out the content drip.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Right. And for me, I was like, man, she's doing like 2 weddings a week. How's she getting all of her business? And now, this was like a year and a half ago. Now she's crushing it. So people want to buy the stock that's going up. People want to buy Bitcoin when it's at its top. So you need to create an atmosphere of constant upward momentum. Because again, it's safe. People want to buy the alpha dog. People want to get the hat of the team that won the Super Bowls. Right? Because it's safe. That's why.
Sure.
It's safe. It's status. They're not going to be made fun of. It's just, it speaks to the lizard brain, to the caveman brain subconsciously. They don't know why they're doing it. All they know is that that's the thing, and that's what they want, and that's the person that's doing moving and shaking. And then people start talking about it, which creates social proof. Social proof creates more buying.
When people are doing these organic strategies, do you recommend a certain ratio? Okay, is there a practical ratio that people say that you think that is kind of a best practice? For every status post, do 3 proof posts, or do these other types of posts? Do you recommend a certain recipe for that?
Right. So result vision, proof that you're doing business. So your proof, right? So there's 2 parts of it. You have result, proof, story, mechanism. So let's imagine your story is the most important. And your story is where you're documenting your life, where you're talking about, you're talking about your family, you're doing good things for the community, right? You're talking about, how you've built this business. You're talking about your clients. That's like the bulk of it, right? So the mistake that most people do is they're pushing the mechanism nonstop, which stinks of desperation. That's like always like, insurance rates have just gone down. Like, you're pushing the mechanism.
Yeah.
And you're selling nonstop. And that's not good. So, you want to pitch, but you really want your pitch to be the lowest amount. So let's say you want to pitch 10, 20% of the time. The rest of the time, you want to be doing lifestyle photos. You want to be doing story. So story is where you really hit the connection with your market. Now, especially like insurance, real estate, where you can't craft a special offer, you can have tack-on offers like doing contests or giving away tickets to, if you're in a local area and there's a big sports team, you could give away tickets. You could do a Who's Next and every month give away something like that, where you're bolting on a status offer onto your base product. So the bulk of that story is me talking about, when I started my agency, I had nothing, and what we did was we did this and we did that, and I kept pushing, and everybody has this hero's journey. And if you look up the idea of the hero's journey, there's lots of books written on it. It's like the core thing of copywriting. It's what almost every single movie that you've ever seen is based on. It's, if you look back all the way to the time verbal language and written language came from, people have been telling stories around fires thousands of years ago. And it's all based off of around this idea of the hero's journey. It's an internal human complex. That is, I have a problem, I have a pain, I have all these things that are holding me down. I have the dark lord who's against me.
Right. There's an adversary. There's a protagonist. There's a good guy and there's a bad guy.
Right. And I'm, finding my way through it. I'm getting to the mountaintop, right? So everybody's going through this. We're all going through it. We're all living through it. And as soon as we get to the mountaintop, we find another hero's journey that we have to go through, right? So really all you need to do is channel your prospect's inner hero's journey. And when you can't sell a specific product that's like, well, I mean, yeah, there's a hero's journey in every product anyway, because now I'm thinking about, the issue with insurance or the issue with real estate, but all together, people want to buy the safety of somebody who's on upward momentum. So your social media postings should always be entertaining, because entertainment is value.
Mm-hmm.
You do a great job of it, right? The entertainment and the journey that you depict is you're so connected to just being yourself, right? Like, I love that video where you're like on the rollerblades and you're being so goofy. But here's the thing, the reason why that was like so hard hitting, I was like, this is brilliant, is because
there was no thought behind it. I just thought I looked awesome, by the way. But go ahead.
Right. But so you've trained yourself to do that, right? Think about when you first started video. It was probably like so terrifying.
Oh,
right?
I looked like a 4-year-old on there. Yeah.
Right. So what you did in that video is you challenged the alpha dog, and the alpha dog is society. Mm. Right? It's the rules that we're supposed to play by that nobody agreed to play by.
Right.
It was, it's just like somebody made fun of somebody sometime, and don't do this, don't do that. You got to be like
cultural norms, right? Just cultural norms. Like you should.
So the more you break cultural norms and you do it in a way of confidence, you become alpha dog.
Yeah.
And you did it perfectly in that. I was like, this is brilliant. And it had nothing to do with business, but yet it is a driving force of why people want to buy stuff from you.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's your story. Your story is what allows people. Because here's the thing: I got a buddy who was crushing as a financial advisor, didn't want to do it anymore. He's been doing real estate for like 3 or 4 months, crushing it, like murdering it. Like in his first month, did more homes than most people do in a year when they start out. The reason being is that because people buy him.
Yeah.
So he just moves. He moves to whatever he wants to sell because he's really good at getting his story across.
Sure. It cuts through the noise. It cuts through everything else that people see just in their feed. And absolutely. One thing that I know you do really, really well at, and I don't know if this is intentional. If it is, maybe you could speak a little bit to it, is for those of us who follow you specifically online, you do a really good job of, and this could be seen as controversial, as polarizing, and these things work as well, but you do a really good job of calling out the bad guy in the room, the unspoken bad guy. There's a lot of people in your industry that get taken advantage of. There's a lot of people in your industry who take advantage of other people, I should say. And a lot of people feel scammed. A lot of people feel taken advantage of as customers. You do a great job of kind of positioning yourself alongside them as their hero.
Right. So there's a Dan Kennedy trick that he says you should always have visible disdain to the market. So again, with the hero's journey, is everybody's looking for the whistleblower. People respect the whistleblower, again, because it steps in the face. You're challenging the alpha dog. Now, this is every single market. I don't care what you're selling, you can do this. And it's the fastest way to gain attention and to have a clear position in your marketplace. So if I was a real estate agent, what do we know about real estate agents? Or any market, anybody, there's kind of a low barrier to entry, right?
Sure.
You read a book, you take a test.
Right.
Now, Here you are, right? Does that mean that you're the best to be qualified to, advise somebody on what they should do? Hell no, right? There's more fools than there are experts in any industry.
Sure.
So what you need to do is make a logical court case. So there's a great example. Marketing is a case. Sales is the end. The better you make a court case, so you're talking to a jury. Your prospect is a jury of people, and you need to systematically bring out each piece of evidence and convince them that logically it makes sense that that person murdered him or didn't.
Right.
You know? So if I was a real estate agent, I have a small construction background, right? Or you know what? No, let's go with my cooking background. So I look at cooking. What benefits did I get from cooking? Well, I ran a country club for 9 years. I worked with all types of famous people, with very rich people. I ran a whole team, right? So let me take that and then let me bring it in. If I started a real estate agency, this is what I would say. Say right now in the real estate market, everybody's a realtor. Your cousin's a realtor. Your cousin's daughter just turned 18. She's a realtor, right? Because her mom's a realtor. Everybody's a realtor. Does that mean that they understand how to service their market? Of course not. Look, I ran a country club, Rockefeller, Strawbridge and Clothier, you name it, the Mars Bars Corporation. I did their wedding. I understand the journey and the need of the luxury market. Now, I may not know real estate as good as somebody who's been selling it for 10 years, but the only reason you know their name is because they've been in it for 10 years. So I can walk you through a process that I've learned, that I've studied on, you know what I mean? So it's like you can always position on why they're being taken advantage of in the marketplace. And all you need to do is get them thinking like, I mean, if you think about, this is what's called broad market content. So in the pyramid of buyer sophistication, you have the very top and then you have the bottom, broad market. So broad market is a great place to have disdain. Think about that it's like every year you're like, well, this year it's okay to eat eggs.
Right.
And next year it's not. Right? Next year it's like we're all going to die from cancer from eating eggs.
Right.
Right? So all you need to do is make a logical case why what they're doing now is reckless.
Right.
Because again, the buyers, the lizard brain is always like, should I step on this rock?
Right.
You know, like it's never calm. It's always at hyper alert. So all you need to do is make a logical case why its next move is unsafe or why the policy it's in now is really not the best and it's going to move.
Do you recommend, I imagine a lot of people who are just getting started out and the mistakes that they would make, the mistakes I assume I would make is it a good or a bad idea to kind of mix those messages, or should you just be very clear? I mean, here's a good example so that you don't look like the 17-year-old boy on prom night trying to jump to conclusions way too fast and without, setting the stage a little bit. You go from a proof post and then all of a sudden you're hitting them with something else. Do you recommend just keeping things very clean and separate for that reason, or do you advise that always have a strong call to action in everything that you do? Where's the balance there?
So your call to action, like let's say I was posting on Facebook, I would have my offer, call to action on the offer, and then I would go into proof, vision, story, and I might not post another call to action for 2 weeks.
So never mix a call to action on a story, for example. Your call to action will be all those, right? So like, let's say I have because your sales page is everything at once. Your overall persona should be like, you're basically looking at this strategy on the macro and the micro. Okay.
Right. So it's like everything falls into it. And then like your specific, portions of it should also fit the framework.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense. Like if I was to do a call to action, if let's say it was insurance, I'd say, have you been using the same insurance company? Or no, want to learn how you can save 50% on your insurance and it only will take you 5 minutes and can be done by today or something like that?
Sure.
Proof. I just got off the phone with somebody and saved them hundreds of dollars on their insurance in 5 minutes, in less than 5 minutes, and I clocked it. you could use something
Oh,
like
sure.
story. So, but first, let me tell you a quick story about this person. So they called me for advice about something else. And blah, 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 blah. I go in. Most times what I find is that people are paying the same insurance policy that they got 5 years ago. Why? Well, because most insurance agents are just order takers.
Right.
They passed their test 5 years ago. They've never read up anything on that. They are not professional. They are not, they don't even like the business that they're in. They're just tied to it because they have so much recurring revenue that they're like, how am I ever going to get out of this? They're really actually interested in something else, and that's why, you know what I mean? So then you go in the story, you're building the disdain, you're building the logic, you're building the reason why you understand inside of that, and then the mechanism is what they're about to buy. So you could be like, so I got on the phone with this person, and they were asking me about how I keep my rhododendrons so nice. And, long story short, we got into a conversation about what they were paying for their home insurance because they mentioned that they just got a boat. And I told them about this awesome package that nobody really knows about. It just came out. But because I'm so, because I'm constantly here at XYZ Agency, we're constantly taking continuing education for ourselves and for our agents, that we realize that Farmers has a very specific policy that wraps up, and drops XYZ. So that's how I would do my offer.
Sure.
So it'd be a whole story like that.
Let me ask you this, because I think this would be something that a lot of people struggle with, and I kind of want to get your take on it. Where's the fine line between the person who is maybe not as open with wanting to be as vocal like that, for fear that they might either sound like a douche, or they kind of, they don't want to sound negative, or, where's that line in your positioning to where you don't want to be, and he gets made fun of a lot, and I make fun of him. You don't want to be the Gary V with your own K-Swisses and superhero t-shirt looking like a douchebag marketer. And you don't want to come off as like you're throwing rocks at somebody else and being negative. Where's the fine line there?
So, it really comes down to who is your buyer, right? So let's go to the far end, and you're like, I want to sell to Christians. I'm Christian. I want to sell to Christians.
Okay.
And everything would be in that. Now, you could still create controversy, because the reason you want to create controversy is that you want attention. You want eyes on you. So you can create controversy by just, if there's something controversial in the Christian community, like people are talking about some, Joel Osteen or whatever happened with that, you would just say, what is everybody's thoughts on the situation with Joel Osteen? I'll give you my ideas in the comments, right?
Sure.
So that's one way you can have the controversy without being like you're the one that's like going one direction or another, right? So now all you're becoming is, it's like an Oprah. Oprah became popular as a spiritual leader just by interviewing spiritual leaders, right? So you can position yourself as the one that is willing to have the difficult conversations, right? So you're still putting yourself out there as the person who's willing to initiate the difficult conversations. So you're not the one who is starting it, or, one of the polarities in the conversation. You're just the one who's willing to initiate it. You're the one willing to have the difficult conversation. Another way you can do this is, and it does always come down to who you're trying to sell. So let's say, instead of like Ferraris and stuff like that, let's say your perfect person is very subdued. They like to save money. They're very smart and calculated about everything they do. So then I would post, like, I would talk about Tesla. Like, I would be the initiator of everything they're thinking about. Right? I would see stuff in in the marketplace or politics or policies and just ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the energy bill that just came out, that is set to possibly save the government X amount of dollars, and how do you think that's going to apply to our local area of Philadelphia?
Sure.
Like,
Dry as I'll get out to me, but it's the audience that matters.
Right. So yeah, dry to most people, and also like very interesting, and you again are the thought leader inside your kind of sphere.
Mm-hmm.
So you can always be creating that upward momentum just inside your target, inside your fishing pond per se.
Yeah. And I imagine there are a lot of people too that who are watching this who have this thought, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this too, because you do a really good job of mixing your personal life with that of your business. And so a lot of people will say, and they'll use this as an excuse more or less than anything, but they'll say, I don't want to bring my business into my personal page. This is why I have a business page and a personal page, because I don't want to mix the two. But you do a great job of intersecting both seamlessly. And can you talk about that strategy and why that works for you?
Well, it goes back to status and the tribe again. So basically, they're being beta.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Well, and two, I think a lot of people don't know. So you talk to an insurance agent and you tell them, bring this stuff to your personal page. And they think, well, I don't want to, all in their mind they think about is, anybody need insurance, call me, here's my number. Like that's their only go-to. They don't understand. This is why understanding human psychology, this is why what you teach and the value that you give is so awesome, because you help us understand as marketers how to think on a psychological level and to really tap into people's emotions and what drives the decision behind or the behavior behind the decision. And
right. I mean, if I think about somebody, so I put myself in the buyer's persona, right? Mm-hmm. If all I know is that you're pitching a service, I'm not going to buy from you.
Right.
Who are you? I don't know. Just some guy who I'm friends with on Facebook who talks about insurance all the time.
Right. Right. No value, no content.
Yeah, zero value. So how do you give value? Entertainment. How do I connect with somebody else? Through vulnerability, through their life, through what are they doing? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's like, look, if I'm going to buy insurance from just an insurance thing, I could probably just go online and search and find something and,
sure.
Connect me to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. No, people, yeah, there has to be a personalization. There has to be they have to resonate with that. And I think that's what you do really, really well. Bobby, I want to thank you so much. I think we've gone on. This has been one of the fastest hours we've ever had. I want to thank you so much, but tell us a little bit more about where people can find you, what you got on the horizon. And if people want to get more connected with you, I would highly recommend anybody on this, if you are looking to go to another level and take your marketing game to just a different stratosphere, I would highly recommend connecting with Bobby, his team. Rob was unable to be on the call today, but just fantastic, brilliant people, brilliant minds that will elevate your game. I jumped in because I wanted deep water stuff. I wanted to jump in, and that's who I found. So where can people find you? Where can people connect with you more?
So on my profile page, Bobby Stocks. We also have a Facebook group, Ad Agency Hustle. We have right now the Local Marketing Masters group, which is what you're in. It's been kind of underground for the last year and a half. It's been kind of like a pet project of me and
it's
Rob.
The real life Fight Club, I think.
Yeah. So I think now we're at like 152 or 53 marketing agencies and insurance agencies. Yeah. And inside that group, we offer one-on-one calls. We do group trainings. So that group is actually kind of coming to an end from the sense of like allowing people in. And we're going to be launching. We have 2 courses on mortgage lead generation, and we have our big broad market course that'll be out in July, which is called Ad Agency Hustle. It's going to be everything from we're going to have 24 different niches in it, sales, positioning, you name it. It's everything. We're going to make millions and millions of dollars off of it. We've got a big JV coming. So, but the real offer, the scarcity that I'm throwing out there that's real is that anybody who joins Local Marketing Masters is going to get free upgrades into those courses. So they're basically getting 4 courses for the price of one.
Mm.
Um, and it's as we roll those out, if they get in after the mortgage courses come out, they're not going to get free upgrades to those. So they basically have like 2-3 weeks esque before we launch that. We're basically just waiting for our new.
No, they really have right now, because by the time they go through the content in
Yeah.
LMM, I mean, that's when they're going
We're
to
just
be ready.
waiting for our new merchant to get approved, and then we're closing it up. So
Nice, nice, nice. So they can find that on your website, or they can find that on your profile page?
yeah, if they come to my profile page, they'll and root through my feed, they'll see some offers, and we're going to be throwing another offer out next week. They can private message me,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Awesome. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. This will go live. This will be live. If you're watching this, this is probably Monday after Memorial Day. It'll be live all throughout the group. Search for it forever. Keep it at the top of the post. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We'll be back here again tomorrow with another marketing lesson with another marketer, and we are out.
Bruce.